One night in 1941 my sisters, Pauline and Sheila, and I were walking home to Clarendon Place and were at Rawson Square. 3 soldiers came down the little steps outside the Top Market. One grabbed another's cap and threw it in the air. He shouted, "Get your cap, Yule." I thought, what a lovely name. They came over and chatted to Pauline, Sheila, and me. My mother Nora turned up. She was looking for us, and she ordered us home. John Yule asked to meet me the next night at the Brown Derby Club on Manningham Lane. I went and could not see him and thought he had stood me up. I turned to leave when he came down 2 steps of the club and said, "Where are you going?" My mother Nora really took a shine to him. She was from Scotland and John was from Glasgow and had a heavy Scottish accent. She would invite him over for dinner whenever she could. My mother Nora had lost her son, my brother, Ralph, before the war. John always loved her and he called his second daughter Nora, though he called her Nornie when she was little. Our romance blossomed through the 5 years of writing letters back and forth whilst he was in Cairo, Egypt. When John came home we met on Carlisle Road and I must have mentioned marriage. John said he had a girlfriend in Scotland. I was devastated. I was so shocked I drew myself up. I turned on my heel and walked away down Carlisle Road, trying not to cry. John ran after me and said if he got a special license would I marry him. I said yes, and on the 11th of April 1946 we were married. We were married at St. Jude's Church close to Hanover Square. It was a Thursday. My mother and I made a dress and I made a veil out of white netting my grandma gave me. We turned red tulips inside out for my bouquet. John wore his army uniform. It was near the end of World War II and he was allowed back because his mother was dying. We went to Scotland for our honeymoon. We moved to Scotland and lived in his sister Mary's Butt and Ben, small cottage. Her home was also a little shop as well where she sold sweets, cigs, and pop, etc. When we arrived at his sister Mary's small shop, John picked up a whole box of Fox's wafers and scoffed them all. I was shocked, what with rations and all, but they just smiled. John was well loved by his family. My mother Nora became ill with breast cancer, so we came back to Bradford to look after her. John got a job and we stayed in Bradford. My first daughter Mary, named after John's mother, came along after 10 months. My precious mother died in January 1947, 15 days before Mary was born. She was only 53 years old. My daddy died in November 1942. He was also only 53 when he died of a cerebral hemorrhage.